All right. Hello. I can't see any of you. I'm really glad to be here, though, and I'm really, really honored. I've also have sat where you were and been so inspired so often. But recently, I have been in Baghdad doing the work that I do. I help people create open community spaces in the Middle East and North Africa. And 3 weeks ago, I was with Fikra Space, the hackerspace there. And one day, there were 20 of us in a room discussing and sharing books and opening up to each other over food. It was beautiful. I think all of you know the value of these three things. But the very next day, there were 10 of these plumes in the sky and 3 times as many people that had come to my little gathering, well, not mine, the Fikra Space gathering, were gone. And I was terrified. So I don't know how many of you feel the same thing that I do when I'm here, that kind of uplifting spirit, the spirit of revolution, the spirit like we're on to something big. Who here feels that? From the first speech to Marston's speech, everyone here, right? I have felt that as well, but it is only possible if we ask ourselves why we're doing what we're doing. Listen to the talks that you heard today and ask yourself what resonated with you, and then pursue that. Make that value the core of why you act. So I am happy to be here. I'm no longer terrified because I feel like I'm looking at the seed of prosperity, like the stuff we saw from Marston's talk, and of peace, like the stuff that we saw in Edmund's talk. I'm looking at the seeds which will grow and create free and cheap energy, cleaner oceans, and certainly lots of blinking things and awesome hover cars and, all the rest of the awesome open source stuff. But this is the way that I see open source today. It's open, right? It's possible. Anybody can go and walk up to that door and open it and get into the bright wonderland beyond. But there are problems. This is going to be a 2-part switcheroo. It's a little animated GIF by PowerPoint. Right? Okay, so this is open source contributions by locations. It isn't just open source hardware, it's open source software. This is on GitHub. This is for the last 4 months in 2011. And if you look closely, actually the animated GIF is really wonderful. It's actually, you can control it. Oops, wrong one. You can see that the more densely the GDP density is, meaning the richer people are, the more they're contributing to open source projects. And as much as we'd like to think that we're going to go out there and change the world, we can't do it from this side, from the big blue spots. We need to get out of there. And so I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about how open source hardware is already doing that quiet leap and going into the places where I'm working and doing amazing things. This is Mahmoud. I don't know if you guys know about Egypt, but Egypt has had a couple of revolutions. And I was talking to my friend Mahmoud a couple of months ago, and I was like, Mahmoud, I'm really confused. What's going on? He was like, yeah, the first revolution had a bunch of liberals, and a lot of liberals are secular, and then we've got this new government that's mostly religious, and there's all this complicated stuff. And you know what he was telling me? He was one of the most active people when we first started pursuing the concept of a free and open space in Egypt. So he's one of the founders of the Fab Lab in Egypt. He's one of the founders of the Giza hackerspace in Egypt. He's just this outgoing, amazing guy, really focused on children and bringing rapid prototyping to them. But he was really distraught. And you know what he told me he was doing? I think someone in this audience is going to really appreciate this. He was like, because I can't go outside and participate and build something there, I'm at home making my rep. I thought that was a wonderful thing. That is an amazing thing. That is something that he can do, that will be done, that will stay done, rather than go out and participate in a crazy, chaotic space. And I really believe in the power of open source, sort of like Marston, to take control of our futures into our own hands, our tangible futures as well as our communal futures. And this is a more passive way, and somebody tapping into the global open source network and finding value in it. And here's a more direct way. This is Syria. If you go to Robatana, I think it means robot, our robot in Arabic, you will see these videos, awful videos. It's part of what scares me about the world that we live in. I also want to let you guys know that this is real, okay? Feeling the experience of being in Baghdad is totally different than reading on the news. Like, this is real and it should matter to you because it doesn't stay in Baghdad, it doesn't stay in Syria or in Egypt. It affects us all here, and you know this. But watching these videos is kind of terrifying. People get sniped, okay? Some guy is walking in the streets in Syria, falls, dead. His life is over. It's a tragedy. But it continues to be a tragic experience over and over because everyone that goes to rescue that body also gets sniped. So this guy was like, you know what? Let's make a robot that will go collect the bodies and have a little ambulance-like container inside of it where people can get medical treatment. And so I met up with this guy in Amsterdam, Frederick Jacobs. He is helping them with okay, get this, it's an Arduino-based robot which controls a caterpillar, one of those construction equipments, one of those Marston's gigantic farm equipment that will go and rescue bodies in Syria. So these are ways that the open source movement is already taking the stuff that you guys are all doing, that you all feel matters so much, and going out into the field, into other places in the world where open source participation is extremely low, and using it to do wonderful things. Mahmoud is using it to educate people, and people are using it to save lives in Syria. You can look at the rest of the pictures on the GitHub link in the bottom. So this is what the open source movement looks like to me right now. Full of possibility, full of wonder, right? But I think it would be way awesome if it looked like this. And there were like people like waiting for you. Like when you started coming close, somebody opened the door. I'm like, "Whoa, where have you been? You're my friend." And like, how many hugs did you guys get today? You know, I'm not done. I'm gonna go find @hugs and give them another couple. I think we should all give hugs some more hugs. I really want that nickname. But this is the way I think that the open source movement should look and should feel. Because the world that I see, especially in the place that I work, looks like this. And nobody really sees all the amazing people there. I mean, the Middle East, 30%-ish unemployment on average, also highly educated. All these people out there have the skills to participate and to create things that may benefit them. They might inform the open source movement once they participate, once they become a part of it. But I think we need to do a better job of reaching out. Here are a couple of people that I want to introduce you to. They're really great, awesome folk. That's Saleh in the upper right, waving to you. He's really excited about iOS development. I know this is open source hardware, but he's really excited about iOS development for education, making tools for people to be able to learn better at school. That's Mustafa right next to him. We were all working together on an open source prosthetics project. I was doing some 3D printing, which surprisingly was not the solution. It was just pouring it into baking tins, but that's another story. And that's Mojtaba holding the mold that we made from the 3D printed part. He's really interested in sharing stories of DIY startups in Baghdad, which is an amazing thing. And I'm trying to help him connect to Ohamda. And that is Salma from Egypt, who's trying to get into 3D printing and is having a really hard time with some of the tool chains. And so these are all people. These are just a tiny sampling of the people that I have been interfacing with for the past few years. And I'm going to give you guys a while to look at this page. It's a really tiny page, but I'm asking you to reach out. You guys are people that have a responsibility, I think. And a lot of the people that I interface with look up to many of you in this room as heroes. And I would like to help facilitate the bridging of these two populations and to give you guys a bunch more friends and hopefully people to work on your open source projects. So reach out is just a small form, and I'd like to take this as the first step towards transforming the open source movement to a welcoming movement, an inviting movement. I'm not really sure what the next steps are. Maybe we can make an OkCupid sort of dating for open source. I'm connected to the Middle East. I'm sure some of you are connected to more people in Asia or deeper into Africa. Help us take the open source movement and make it the truly transformative global movement it can really be, taking control and putting it into our own hands. Just like Evan told us in the beginning, we're not free until we have the control in our hands. So I actually have a couple minutes. Please fill this out. giving you some time to do that. And if you guys have any questions, maybe yell at me because I have to run after this talk. Anybody? Oh, shoot. Okay, let's go up. If you want to talk to me or to GEMC, GEMC is the organization that I do this work with. I need a lot of help, to be honest. I mean, you can tweet me. bg@bilalghalib.com is my email address. Anybody else? Oh yeah, Hugs. Hey, what's up, Hugs? Oh, I wrote a song in Arabic and in English. Let's see if anybody can understand it. Why not? It goes, Hey, my name is Bilal وأنا لست ذو مال ولكن لست زمال صاير لي زمان قاعد في أمريكا وهي فكرة جديدة موسيقى عربية عن لسان أمريكية ومخ عالمية. My Arabic is weaker but I'm proud to be a speaker. My shoes are صحراوية and my lady is مصرية. Mama makes a sandwich, Baba makes a speech. Bibi says أمريشة and I have to start to eat her. كوبا باتشا دالما ثوم عدس خيار. المخ العربي مليئة أسرار. أسرار من الأمة وأسرار من الحكومة. أسرار من أمة عيونها مثل بومة.